The Titans came on a Tuesday. Dr. Elena Vasquez remembered that detail with strange clarity, how the morning had started with coffee and grant proposals, and ended with humanity kneeling before beings that scraped the clouds. The Kryn, they called themselves, though their actual name was a series of harmonic booms that shattered windows when spoken aloud. Standing 100 feet tall, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with cold intelligence, they had descended from ships the size of mountains and declared Earth their newest territory. "You are small," their leader, Overlord Thaxon, had announced through translation devices that hung in the sky like dark moons. "You will serve or you will be eliminated." The governments of Earth had surrendered within 48 hours. What choice did they have? The Kryn could level cities with a single step, redirect rivers with a wave of their hands, and their technology made humanity's greatest achievements look like children's toys. Within a month, massive citadels rose across the planet, gleaming towers built to Kryn scale, where humans scurried like ants to serve their new masters. Elena found herself assigned to Agricultural Sector 7, tasked with optimizing food production to feed both humans and the energy-intensive Kryn. She worked in a laboratory that would have once been considered state-of-the-art, now dwarfed by the 100-foot ceilings and doorways built for their overlords. The Kryn supervisor, Valcor, would occasionally peer down through the reinforced glass ceiling, his massive eye filling the entire skylight, watching them work with the mild interest one might show an ant farm. But Elena hadn't survived a doctorate in xenobiology by giving up easily. She began to notice things. Small things. The way the Kryn moved with such ponderous deliberation, their reaction time sluggish despite their advanced technology. How they relied almost entirely on their automated systems for anything requiring fine detail. Most tellingly, how they seemed genuinely puzzled by humanity's rapid adaptation to servitude, as if they'd expected more resistance. "They're not used to being challenged," her colleague Dr. James Chen whispered one night as they worked late, their voices lost in the cavernous space. "Look at their history, the data they've let us access. Every species they've conquered either fought them in massive set-piece battles and lost, or surrendered immediately. None of them did what we're doing. What are we doing?" Elena asked, though she already knew. Surviving, adapting, learning. The resistance, when it formed, wasn't born in bunkers or announced with manifestos. It emerged quietly in 10,000 small acts of defiance disguised as compliance. Engineers who built the Kryn's infrastructure with subtle design flaws that would take years to manifest. Programmers who introduced quantum-level bugs into their automated systems. Scientists who provided data that was technically accurate but strategically misleading. Elena's breakthrough came 6 months into the occupation. She'd been studying Kryn biology, officially to better understand their nutritional needs, unofficially to find weaknesses. Their size was maintained by a complex biochemical process that required precise atmospheric conditions. The Earth's atmosphere was close enough to their homeworlds, but not perfect. They supplemented it with environmental processors in their citadels. What if those processors began to malfunction? Nothing dramatic, nothing that would trigger alarms, just small inefficiencies accumulating over time. The plan took shape in whispered conversations across continents, coordinated through old-fashioned methods the Kryn considered too primitive to monitor. Dead drops, coded messages in classical literature, mathematical proofs with hidden meanings. Humanity's supposed primitiveness became their greatest asset. "You are remarkably efficient," Valcor told Elena one day, his voice like distant thunder. "Your species adapts well to servitude. This is why you were spared." Elena looked up at the massive being, feeling the familiar mix of fear and determination. "We're survivors," she said simply. "It's what we do best." The Kryn didn't notice when their environmental systems began running at 99.7% efficiency instead of 100%. Didn't register concern when it dropped to 99.3% over the following months. They were beings accustomed to perfection through overwhelming force, not through constant vigilance. By the time the efficiency hit 97%, they were experiencing what their medical systems called mild systemic stress. At 95%, Overlord Thaxon called an assembly. Thousands of humans gathered in the central plaza of Citadel Prime, craning their necks to see the Kryn leadership towering above them. Elena stood among them, her heart hammering. "There have been complications," Thaxon boomed. "Our systems require recalibration. You will assist." This was the moment. Humanity's answer came not from any single voice, but from millions of small actions suddenly becoming visible. Across the planet, humans simply stopped. Stopped working, stopped complying, stopped serving. Not in violent revolution, but in coordinated, peaceful resistance. The Kryn raged. They threatened. But they couldn't kill everyone. They needed the labor, needed the infrastructure humanity had built, needed the countless small tasks that only human-sized beings with human-speed reactions could perform. And with every hour that passed with their environmental systems degrading, they grew weaker, slower, more desperate. "You are small," Elena called up to Thaxon, her voice amplified by speakers that had once broadcast Kryn proclamations. "But so are viruses, and they've killed things far larger than themselves. So are ants, and they've outlasted the dinosaurs. You judged us by our size, by our technology, by our initial surrender. You never considered that the truly dangerous predators aren't the ones that roar, they're the ones that adapt." The negotiations took 3 weeks. The Kryn would leave Earth, taking their technology but leaving humanity intact. In return, humans would repair the environmental systems and provide safe passage. It wasn't the glorious victory of war movies, but it was victory nonetheless. As the last Kryn ship lifted into orbit, Helena stood with Dr. Chen watching the dark shapes disappear into the stars. "Do you think they'll come back?" he asked. Elena smiled, thinking of the network of resistance cells that had formed, the knowledge humanity had gained, the unity forged in oppression. "Maybe, but we'll be ready. We're always ready. It's not about how tall you stand, it's about refusing to kneel." Above them, the sky cleared for the first time in a year. And humanity, all 5.5 feet of average height, stood as tall as any giant.